Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
Four seasons. That's how long it's been since Syracuse men's basketball last danced on the big stage. From NCAA tournament titans to rock bottom in the blink of an eye. Desperate for fleeting relevance in this evolving landscape of college basketball, it's a make-or-break campaign for Red Autry and the Orange. Between the returning talent of J.J. Starling and Donnie Freeman, the illustriously decorated resumes of Syracuse's freshman class, some key portal acquisitions, and a little bit of cayenne pepper, the narrative on paper would indicate that this is the team to bring Syracuse back to where it belongs. It's madness or bust in 2026. The journey to the tourney starts tonight. Year 3 of the Autry era is underway. It's Syracuse, it's Binghamton, and it's the Burdick pregame show right here on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. And with that, we say welcome in studio here in downtown Syracuse. Giovanni Heater with you, whether you're listening at home, if you're on the go on 97.7, 100.1 FM, ESPN Syracuse, or of course on Twitch, YouTube, CuseSportsTalk.com. We want to thank you so much for hanging out with us, getting ready for the 2025-2026 Syracuse basketball season opener. Exciting times. Crossover season is officially underway here in Central New York. This is quite literally my favorite time of the year. There's nothing like it. This time of the year when you got basketball and football overlapping, it's the best. It's the best. It's the change of the seasons, the whole nine. Football's getting serious. Basketball's just getting going. It's the best time of the year, plain and simple. So we're setting the scene tonight for Syracuse and Binghamton, and the biggest storyline really is the overarching theme heading into this season, and it's that it's must-win time for Syracuse basketball. Year 3 of the Red Autry era. Last year was rock bottom in so many different ways for Syracuse basketball, and now here we are back for another year of Cuse hoops, and the expectation is to get back to the NCAA tournament. It was pretty noted that last year, financially, Syracuse wasn't where they wanted to be. The roster wasn't what they wanted it to be. And now in 2025-2026, they feel like they're in a really good spot with their resources, that they bolstered this roster, and they have a team that's ready to compete at a really, really high level in an ACC conference that feels as though it's surging back into the national relevance, back into the national picture, because the story around the conference has been that it's been down. And they haven't had as many teams in the NCAA tournament like they have historically. Feel free to give us a ring. 315-437-7644 is the number to call as we get you set and ready for the Syracuse men's basketball 2025-2026 season opener up in the JMA Dome, with Binghamton taking the hour-long trek up I-81 to play in the confines of the Dome. 6th all-time meeting between Syracuse and Binghamton. Cuse leads the series 5-0. No big surprise there, but it is the first meeting since 2013-2014. So these two teams haven't played in over 10 years now. First time they ever played was 2003. We all know what happened that year. So, hey, stands out on paper a little bit when you see the first time they played. Melo was hooping in the Dome, and the Cuse brought home the natty. Syracuse average margin of victory when playing against Binghamton, 32.2 points per game. And that's where I want to start, and I'm going to end the show there, kind of a full circle wrap-up to our pregame coverage here. Remember that number, 32.2 points per game is the average margin of victory when Syracuse plays Binghamton. In the last few years, when Syracuse is playing lower-level competition like this, for whatever reason, particularly in-state opponents, I'm talking Colgate, schools of that nature, Cornell, Syracuse is not beating teams of this nature by 32.2 points per game. Syracuse is struggling at times against teams like this. I take you back to last year, one of the first games of the season, took double overtime in the Dome to beat a Youngstown State team that you felt like you should have had no problem with. And maybe that was a red flag that was a little bit ignored early on last season for Syracuse fans. So remember that 32.2 points per game, but we'll see how that comes back into the mix when making our predictions and everything like that. Mention that it's a tournament or bust type of season for Syracuse basketball, right? They've made the investments. They've assembled the roster. The other piece to that I feel like is super, super important is they've built the schedule. And it's not that they haven't had tough schedules in the past, but this year in particular, they've built a schedule that leaves a lot of opportunity there, especially when you look at the non-conference slate. You can only help so much in the ACC, right? But when you look at the non-conference slate, I really do feel as if they've built a schedule that has so much opportunity to be had. The biggest thing, though, you got to win the games. Have not won those marquee non-conference games in a long time, really. Syracuse basketball has not been able to win those games. Have to win them this year if you want to be an NCAA tournament team. You look at the schedule. Just a couple of weeks from now, it's going to go by in the blink of an eye. We're going to be getting ready to sit around the table, hang out with our families, Thanksgiving turkey, football on the television. You know it's coming. And Thanksgiving's a little bit late this year. You know it's coming. And that's the week Syracuse is going to go out to Las Vegas. No matter what, they're going to play 2 preseason top 25 opponents out in Vegas. No matter what. You got the number 2 team in the country, Houston, on the slate. You got the number 19 team in the country, Kansas, on the slate. And oh, by the way, just a week later, you're also going to play number 18 Tennessee, who's preseason 18th in the country. You get them in the Dome in the ACC SEC Challenge. That's 3 top 20 opponents in the preseason that you're going to get in the first month of 2025-2026. That's not to mention the fact that when Cuse goes out to Vegas, there's an opportunity to play more top 25 opponents here. Not saying they will. It depends on how everything shakes out. But here's the list of teams making the trip out to Vegas for this event. Number 15, Alabama. Number 20, Auburn. Baylor, who's, national champs in recent history, in and out of the top 25 year after year. Would not be surprised if they're right on the fringe. Number 23, Creighton. Number 21, Gonzaga. 16th ranked Iowa State. Maryland, who, by the way, just got Buzz Williams, poached him from Texas A&M. Buzz Williams, great head coach, was just the head coach of the Aggies, was a head coach at Virginia Tech before that, has taken many teams to deep runs in the NCAA tournament, like a Sweet 16 machine, right? He's now the Maryland head coach, building a nice roster there. They're a fringe top 25 team. Number 7, Michigan, is playing out in Vegas in this tournament. Notre Dame, Oregon, Rutgers, number 5, St. John's. How sweet would it be if the Cuse play Houston and Kansas and then somehow the matchups work out beautifully and you get matched up with St. John's? A little bit of Big East history there. That would be perfection. If there's any team on this slate that I'd say, yeah, I really would like Syracuse to get a shot to play them, St. John's is the first one that sticks out. The other one would probably be Gonzaga, just because there's a little bit of history there. A little bit of history there with some NCAA tournament games, particularly in that 2016 run. Of course, that Sweet 16 game against the Zags. San Diego State, Texas A&M, and UNLV are also going to be out in Vegas. A lot of opportunity in the first month or so of the season. And if you can just not even win them all, but win one or two, it'd be really nice if you could win multiple. But win one or two, you're going to be in a good spot if you're Cuse, trying to bolster a resume, put together an NCAA tournament resume. If you win all of them, or even 3 of the 4 opportunities there, I mean, you're looking at a serious top 15 team. Cuse is looked at as one of the best teams in the ACC, and vibes are incredibly high heading into conference play. So that is the opportunity in front of Syracuse, but it starts with these non-conference opponents like Binghamton in these first couple of games before you go out to Vegas. Binghamton, Delaware State, Drexel, Monmouth. That is where it begins with Syracuse. So what needs to happen for Syracuse to get back to the dance? That feels like it is the pressing question. I think the defense needs to improve. I think they need to take better care of the basketball. 3-point shooting has been an issue in the last couple of years. And my 4th point, transition offense. I got numbers to support it all. We're going to talk about it on the other end of the break. We're going to take a short break here. Syracuse and Binghamton coming up to the Dome. We're going to take you right up to tip-off. It's the 2025-2026 Syracuse basketball season opener. And you're listening to our Burdick pregame coverage right here on ESPN Syracuse and QSportsTalk.com.
Auburn Community Hospital, our proud supporter.
What's up, chat? Let's see. What's up, chat? Can you guys hear the ads? Or are you guys hearing me? No ads. Beautiful. Thanks, Jen. Perfect. Which is most important, gym, tan, or laundry? I don't tan, so not tan. I'd say gym is most important, but you can't go to the gym if you don't do your laundry. So that's a good question. Any Benny Williams headaches on this team? I don't think so, but it's so early, it's hard to tell. It's a young team. It really is for the most part, but nothing that jumps off the page at you. What about Steve Angeli? We're talking hoops today, guys. Hoops only on this show. I'm excited for tonight as well. I'm excited to watch some Cuse hoops. Been too long. Been way too long. Way, way, way too long. Do you know what? No, I have no idea what that's a reference to. I'm not going to lie. Is that something with Paulie and Steve? Yes, Ryan. I am doing the women's game tomorrow night. Tim is going to support Matt Park at the Marty Glickman Award ceremony. So Tim's going to do that, and they were kind enough to ask me if I would fill in, and that was a no-brainer because I'm stoked to do it. Super excited. Going to be a good time. I miss calling games. That's my favorite thing to do. No question. What else you got? Just before the game, Joe Fuller is going to announce he's... Yeah, right? Going to start at point guard. Yeah, Ryan, I saw. They got some names. Got a little bit more prep to do tonight and tomorrow. See what's going on in the YouTube chat. Can't neglect our YouTubers. What's up, guys, in the YouTube? Appreciate you guys hanging out, tuning in. Coming back here in a second.
Your office in Camillus. We bring you the latest on Syracuse Orange Sports. ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
Hanging out and having a good time, getting you ready for the 2025-2026 Syracuse basketball season opener inside the JMA Dome. Binghamton makes the trek up I-81 to tip off in the Dome. Can't wait for this Syracuse hoop season. Really does feel like there's a different level of excitement and buzz around the program. A lot of pressure on the 2025-2026 campaign. Year 3 of the Red Autry era feels like it's a must-win year for Red and the Cuse basketball program, trying to snap a 4-year drought of missing the NCAA tournament. Man, it's crazy how it feels like a distant memory that Cuse was a mainstay in March. It's been too long. And that's the narrative around this season. Syracuse has to get back to the NCAA tournament. They've built the team. They have the schedule. Got to win the games. We'll see how it all plays out. It all starts here tonight with Binghamton in town. So what needs to happen for Syracuse to get back to the big dance? I think there's 4 main points that got to take place. Starts number 1 with improving the defense. By far and away, the biggest problem last year was the defensive side for Syracuse. They were 316th in the nation in scoring defense. They were 340th in steals per game, 286th in scoring margin, 311th in opposing field goal percentage, 241st in opposing three-point percentage, and 329th in forced turnovers. They didn't stop anybody from scoring last year, and they didn't take the basketball away either. Have to improve defensively if you want to see success in 2025-2026. Another big thing for this team is going to be taking care of the basketball. 336th in turnover margin last year, 261st in turnovers per game, and 223rd in assist to turnover ratio. Can't turn the basketball over, especially if you can't stop anybody on defense. Can't turn the basketball over this year if you're Syracuse. I think they do have the right pieces in place to take better care of the ball, and plain and simple, they just have better players this year. Like, it's just a better team. It's a better roster on paper, but we got to see what it looks like. 3-point shooting is one key facet to success in 2025-2026. This team was 240th in the nation last year in three-point percentage. That was good for 13th in the ACC. 308th in the country in three-pointers per game. Made three-pointers per game. That was 16th in the ACC. I mean, it was a rock-bottom kind of a year for Syracuse basketball, and the numbers here don't lie. Have to find ways to score the bucket from beyond the arc. That's just the modern nature of college basketball right now. And the final point for Syracuse to significantly improve this year, transition offense. get out and run. They got the athletes and the length to do it this year. They did not do it last year, did not have the athletes to do it. They were 243rd in the country in fast break points a season ago. Create some transition offense. Get out and run. And that could be a recipe to success. Phone lines are open, 315-437-7644. If you want to call in, we're hanging out, getting you ready for Syracuse and Binghamton up in the Dome on a Monday night to tip off the college basketball season. So let's get into our scouting report on Binghamton here. And I think the best place to start when you talk scouting report with Binghamton is actually starting with our Krause Hospital injury report, as crazy as that sounds. And that's because the Bearcats are going to be without a lot of key dogs tonight. So this Binghamton team is only going to have 10 healthy players suiting up against Syracuse tonight. They might only go 7 deep, because I'd say 2 to 3 of these guys were not expected to play. Would not be shocked in the slightest if Binghamton only goes about 7, maybe 8 guys deep this evening. That's a tough decision and a tough situation to be in if you're fifth-year head coach Lavelle Sanders. This Binghamton team has some long-term injuries, some short-term injuries. The long-term injuries are really, really damaging, though, when you look at the outlook of this season for the Bearcats. Number 3, Evan Ash would have been a starter. Started 13 games last season, was expected to be the starting point guard for this team this year. He's out, could be out for the year. Long-term injury, definitely won't have him tonight. Number 33, Sayer Sangor, would have been a starter, according to head coach Lavelle Sanders. Division II transfer, he's out long-term, will not be active tonight. Then number 1, Jaden Lamond. Started the first 9 games at point guard last year, struggled a little bit for him, ended up coming off the bench throughout the year. His role decreased a little bit, was probably going to have a little bit bigger of a role this season. Long-term injury, definitely without him tonight. And then for the short-term injury, number 30, Jake Blackburn, true freshman. He's out short-term, but he will not suit up for the Bearcats tonight. So they're only going to have 10 healthy rostered players. Again, wouldn't be shocked if they go really only as deep as maybe 7, 8 guys. So, yeah, this Binghamton team tipping off its 80th season, coming off the heels of a 15-17 campaign. They went 7-9 last year in American East play. Top 5 finishes, though, in the American East in each of the last 3 seasons for Binghamton. They have not made the NCAA tournament since 2008-2009. Bearcats returned just 1 starter. That's Wes Peterson Jr. They returned 5 lettermen from last season. They welcomed 9 newcomers, 7 transfers, 2 freshmen. Of the 7 transfers on this roster, 3 have NCAA Division I experience. Couple of key guys to be on the lookout for tonight for the Binghamton Bearcats. Former LaSalle center, Demetrius Lilly. He was selected to the American East preseason all-conference team, just the second Bearcat to make the preseason team in the last 6 seasons in Binghamton. Definitely going to be a key guy to look out for, especially because I feel like Syracuse's weakest position on the floor is probably its center position. So I'm really curious to see how that shakes out tonight. That's probably their best player, probably Syracuse's weakest point. We'll see how it works in the paint at the 5 spot. Another guy to be on the lookout for, point guard Jeremiah Quigley. He'll look to be the centerpiece offensively. Only projected starter to average double figures at some point in his career. Averaged 10.8 points per game, 3.3 assists per game. That was at Iona. That was 2 years ago, 2023-2024. He appeared in just 9 games on a 27-9 George Mason team that made the NIT second round last year. So he has some experience, went Iona to George Mason, now transfers back to Binghamton, and that's where he is. But he's going to look to be a centerpiece offensively. And then finally for Binghamton, probably my pick to be the biggest difference maker tonight for the Bearcats. That's going to be number 10, Zaire Beverly. Keep an eye out on him. First-year Bearcat, Another guy out of the portal, possesses a ton of raw talent. Coach says he's got a wow factor to him. It's a big man with guard-type skills, I'm being told. Has a super high ceiling due to the natural talent and athleticism. Transferred in from East Los Angeles College. That is a long way to go. From L.A., playing JUCO ball, to SUNY Binghamton, but here he is. Averaged 10.5 points a game, 5.3 rebounds last season for the Huskies in the JUCO level. That was a team that went 27-3 and was ranked as high as number 5 among California junior colleges a season ago. So be on the lookout for number 10, Zaire Beverly, tonight as well for Binghamton. And the reason I say that is because he feels like a guy that's going to be able to match up physically with Syracuse. And I don't know how many cats Binghamton's going to have that's going to be able to match up physically with a team like Syracuse. This is a super athletic, super big, long Syracuse roster. Binghamton's just not going to have a lot of athletes that can match them physically. But Zaire Beverly might be a guy that can, especially with that raw wow factor, natural talent, athleticism, big man with guard-like skills. That could be a guy to be on the lookout for here tonight. We'll take a short break. Phone lines are open. 315-437-7644 is the number to call. We'll continue to get you ready for Syracuse and Binghamton, the 2025 season opener in the Dome, just about a half hour away. You're listening to QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse.
This is Orange Nation.
Joe Filardi does not give them.
What's up, chat? A Jersey Shore joke. You guys are funny. How are we feeling about tonight? Like, what feels like a game where you walk away from it feeling like, okay, you know, this is what we wanted to see. Like, how many do they have to win by in order for you to feel that way? I'm going to get into that at the end of the show when I make the pick, but I'm curious your guys' thoughts. The situation. That means I must say that way too much. If that's what you're nicknaming me, Paul. That's probably a crutch word or something. I definitely say that a lot. Yeah, I'm with you, Florida guy. I think you got to win big. Oh, it's a Jersey Shore reference. What is your earliest memory of SU men's basketball? Do I remember the 87 season? Dude, I was born in 03. I don't remember the 03 national championship because I was in the womb. I was born in August of 03. Zero recollection of the 87 national championship trip. I know they lost. Keith Smart, the buzzer. Indiana. In New Orleans. At least the demons were exorcised once Melo got here. Took care of business. I've watched all those games on YouTube. Like, more times than you can count. All of them. My earliest memories of Cuse basketball, though, honestly, I think my earliest memory would probably be like really memory where I was paying attention, locking in, and like really in it. Yeah, 96 too. Cuse is in the house. OMG. John Wallace, great team. Hit that buzzer beater against Georgia. I think, I missed 03. I wasn't even born. I think my earliest memory sounds sad, but last game in the Big East tournament, playing Georgetown, beating them. I think it was the Big East semifinal. What a game that was. Otto Porter Jr. for Georgetown. Brandon Trish. Michael Carter-Williams for Syracuse. James Sutherland. That was a fun team, fun game. Last year in the Big East. Felt like there was so much hype around that game because you knew it was the last time they'd ever do it as members of the ACC. That's probably my earliest memory. I don't remember much of the Big East because I was so young. I mean, in 2013, I was 9 or 10. I was 9. I was 9 years old. My lacrosse memories stretch back a little bit further. I remember like the John Galloway teams in the Dome, 08, 09, when they won back-to-back natties with Galloway and Cody Jamieson and Kenny Nims and Dan Hardy and Joel White, Matt Abbott, Joe Von Miller. Those teams were sick. Those lax teams were peak. Those were good times. Jeremy Thompson. Yeah, they did, Jen. It was Greg Naroski. Oh, Steve Ianzito, you're right. Where did Naroski play? Naroski might have been CNS too, though. Coming back.
1200. This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
Getting you set and ready for tip-off in the Dome between Syracuse and Binghamton. 2025-2026 Syracuse basketball season opener. Year 3 of the Red Autry era. And Syracuse trying to get back to the NCAA tournament for the first time in what would be 5 years. Haven't been there in each of the last 4 seasons. Cuse been really desperation mode to get back to the big dance. That's the biggest storyline heading into this year for Syracuse basketball. Can Red get it done? Is the roster what it needs to be? The schedule certainly has the opportunities there for the taking. Can this Syracuse basketball team put it all together and get them back to being mainstays in March, really where they belong? Because Syracuse basketball belongs in the NCAA tournament, a hill that I will die on. Let's go ahead and have a fun segment here. I had a thought earlier today, and I was like, this is a great idea. Let's do this. We're going to go through the schedule game by game, and I'm going to pick the schedule and see where I think Syracuse basketball shakes out when this season comes to an end and if they will be an NCAA tournament team. Now, I will say we've watched 2 exhibition games in which I think the performance, it's fair to say, across the fan base, fair to say it was just a smidge underwhelming. But with that being said, I still have very high hopes for this Syracuse basketball team in 2025, 2026. And I don't think you can put a ton of stock in those exhibition games. Remember that 03 team started a little bit slow, just a hair slow. Remember there was a team that lost in the Dome to Lemoyne in an exhibition, and didn't they end up, what year was that? Somebody in the chat knows. I know one of you guys know. Somebody in the chat knows what year they lost to Lemoyne. Didn't they end up winning like almost 30 games? So you can't sweat the exhibitions, and they took care of business and won. So let's go game by game throughout the schedule and pick this 2025-2026 Syracuse slate. Binghamton, a win. Delaware State coming up on Saturday, that's a win. Drexel coming up next Saturday, another win. So that's a 3-0 start. Monmouth in the Dome, that's a win. By the way, that Drexel game, that's out in Philadelphia. Road contest for the Cuse. Now you go to the Players Era Men's Championship out at MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Playing in the desert where the big boys play with a whole lot of big boys in this tournament. Went through the slate earlier in the show to refresh the memory. An insane amount of ranked preseason top 25 teams playing out there. Cuse is going to get to play number 2 Houston. Number 19 Kansas, that's a guarantee. They're also going to have a shot at playing one more game, depends on how everything shakes out and who they end up getting tabbed with after playing their first 2. You got 15 Alabama, 20 Auburn, Baylor, number 23 Creighton, 21 Gonzaga, 16 Iowa State, Maryland, number 7 Michigan, Notre Dame, Oregon, Rutgers, number 5 St. John's, San Diego State, Texas A&M, UNLV. those teams are all either preseason ranked or close to it for the most part. Like, Texas A&M was a team that played for a Sweet 16 last year. Maryland, fringe, top 25 team who actually stole Texas A&M's coach. San Diego State, mainstays in the NCAA tournament. Baylor, national champs a couple of years ago. Like, these are quality programs that you're going to face, and there's a good likelihood you play a ranked team. And that's not to mention that you play Tennessee in the ACC SEC Challenge after that. So, here's what I think. I think you win one out in Vegas. Whether it's Houston, Kansas, or the other, some mix of that, you're winning one. I think you win one. All right? So I'm going to give them one, and I'm going to give them 2 losses. Love them to beat Kansas. That would be sweet. Although if you beat Houston, it probably helps even more since they're preseason number 2. So that's what I think happens in Vegas. You go 1-2 out there, and I think you take that. But here's what I like. ACC SEC Challenge, big one. Tennessee in the Dome on a Tuesday, December the 2nd. Mark it, circle it. Cuse is going to win that one. Tennessee preseason 18th. You get them in the Dome. Pack it. Fill it up. ACC SEC Challenge. ACC has not boded well against the SEC in recent time. Is this a year that script starts to change a little bit because the SEC was loaded last year? Record numbers of teams in the NCAA tournament. But the ACC feels like it's really restocking. And all of a sudden, Louisville's back. All of a sudden, Syracuse is starting to put together a team. How about NC State with Will Wade? There's teams that need to be good that are getting good again, on top of the teams that were already good, staying good, like Duke. Carolina's preseason top 25. Virginia's going to be back after a down year. They got Odom as the head coach, took him from VCU. So the ACC's kind of resurging right now. I think Cuse is going to beat Tennessee in the Dome. If it was at Tennessee, probably a different story, but it's in the Dome. Give me the Cuse. St. Joseph's, not an easy game. Going to mark it as a win. Could be a tough game, especially coming off of maybe an all-time high after that Tennessee game. We'll take them to beat Hofstra. I'll take them to beat Mercyhurst. Northeastern in the Dome will take the Cuse. That is a 10-2 start to the season, folks, if that's how this plays out, with losses to probably like Houston and Kansas, or like say they beat Kansas and Houston and Alabama or St. John's, something like that. After Northeastern, you got Stonehill College. We'll mark it as a win. That puts you at 11-2. Then you got Clemson, ACC opener, New Year's Eve, in the Dome. That's a tough one. I'll take the Cuse. I think Brad Brownell lost a lot. They got to restock. I'll take the Cuse. Hesitantly. Puts you at 12-2. That was 11-2 in the non-con. And 12-2 after that first ACC game. Then you got Georgia Tech on the road at McCamish Pavilion. We'll take the Cuse. The nice thing is you kind of ease into your ACC schedule here. Wow. You do not play a big ACC game for the first month, at least. Pittsburgh at Pitt. I mean, just because this is a tough league and they can't win them all, I'll say they lose to Pitt. That puts you at 13-3. Florida State in the Dome. Give me the Cuse. 14-3. Boston College at Conti Forum. I don't know why Syracuse never wins there. I'll take them to beat BC. Those are games you have to start winning. That's 15-3. You're ranked. No question at this point. Virginia Tech in the Dome. I'm telling you right now, watch out for the Hokies this year. Watch out for the Hokies. Just saying, they got that kid from Greece, Neo, they call him. That's going to be a good team. They're very well coached. Mike Young's a really good coach. They invested a lot of money. It's going to be a team to look out for. I'll take Syracuse to win it because it's in the Dome. This is putting you at 16-3. Miami in the Dome. I don't know what to expect out of Miami this year. They got money. I'll tell you that. Larinaga's gone, new coach. Saturday, 2 o'clock in the Dome. I'll take the Cuse. This is putting you at 15, 16, 17, and 3. This is when the schedule tightens up a little bit. NC State, I'm sorry, guys, that's a loss. I think Will Wade's going to be a top 5 finish in the ACC this year. He's going to have Quadir Copeland on the team, too. Crazy. Sad. It's going to be tough to see. Notre Dame, they'll win that one. So that's 18 and 4. North Carolina, we'll put it as a loss, 18 and 5. Virginia at JPJ. That's tough. You go back-to-back at Carolina, at Virginia. I'm going to put it as a loss. A little bit of a skid coming here. Carolina and Virginia back-to-back losses. But then you get right at home against Cal. Going to get right at home against Cal. SMU on a Saturday in the Dome. That's a good squad. Andy Enfield, good coach. Give me the Cuse. Got to win some of these games to be good, right? That's 20 wins. That puts you at 20 wins in the middle of February. You're 20 and 6. Duke, Cameron Indoor Stadium. Huge game. 7 o'clock. Big Monday. I'm going to take Duke. I'm sorry. But then you get Carolina in the Dome on a Saturday, ABC. One of the few games in college basketball in the ACC all season long that's going to be on ABC. Awesome spotlight for the program. Huge game. Dome's going to be packed. Not an empty seat. Let's get 35,000. Let's get a Cuse win in there. That's your 21st win of the year. That puts you at 21 and 7. Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, a win. 22 and 7. Louisville at the Yum Center. We're upsetting Louisville at the Yum Center. We're going 23 and 7. That's a huge game. College basketball is going to be back when Cuse and Louisville are squaring off as some of the top teams in the ACC. Pittsburgh in the Dome to round out the year. They lost to them at Pitt earlier in the year, according to my bracketology here. Heater bracketology. Let's trademark it. I'm going to say they beat Pittsburgh. That is a 24 and 7 regular season. That's back. That's back, folks. That's good for probably a top 6 finish in the ACC. That's good for what I would like to say, we'll call it a 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. And you're not really sweating a whole ton. Now, it depends, too, what you do in the ACC tournament. Top 6 finish, you're going to get a bye or two in the ACC tournament. So, now I think that's best case scenario. I will say, like, to play devil's advocate, this is best case scenario. But I do feel like you have a roster that can compete. And notice, I didn't really have them knocking off any of the big boys. Had them losing 2 in Vegas, going 1 and 2 out in Vegas. Had them losing to NC State, losing 1 out of the 2 to Carolina, losing to Virginia, losing to Duke. The only upset you pulled is against Louisville. I mean, the schedule sets up really nicely for you to hit the ground running in ACC play because you're playing Clemson, Georgia Tech, Pitt, Florida State, Boston College, Virginia Tech, and Miami before you play anybody who's expected to finish top 5 in the ACC or better. You're probably not playing a tournament team until you play Virginia Tech on January 21st. ACC schedule-wise. I don't really have them knocking anybody big off. Just Louisville. Upset win at the Yum Center over Louisville. Let's take a break. One final segment when we come back. We're going to unpack what to expect tonight in Syracuse's season opener against Binghamton. The trek up I-81 to play inside the Dome. Big one. Year 3 of the Red Autry era. Got to find them wins in 2025, 2026. Final predictions coming up when we return on ESPN Syracuse and QSportsTalk.com.
This is Orange Nation.
Joe Filardi does not.
Am I getting clowned in the chat for those projections? Listen, I've picked the football team to win every game except the Georgia Tech game, so yeah, maybe I am a little over-optimistic. Wes Johnson, yeah, so that was 09. All right, there you go. Well, 09-010, they won 30 games, probably would have won the national championship, right? Or was that the year before? I think it was 09-010, right? Would have won the Natty if Arinze Onuaku didn't tear his ACL in the Big East tournament. Was that the year? All right, guys, drop your final score predictions here. What do you think? Wow. Going 98. Yeah, we got post-game. Come hang out with us post-game. Call in post-game. Give the thoughts. We'll chat about it. Dude, I've heard big things about this Pat gentleman. I can't wait. The hype has been real, so he better live up to it. Bearcats are a real animal. There you go.
This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
One final segment here in studio before we send you up to the Dome for the 2025-2026 Syracuse men's basketball season opener. Binghamton in town to take on the Cuse, year 3 of the Red Autry era, and it starts right here tonight on CuseSportsTalk.com. and ESPN Syracuse. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on your Monday evening. Hope everyone's doing well. Whether you're trekking up to the Dome, you're probably inside the Dome at this point, I would hope. But if not, give us a ring. 315-437-7644 is the number to call. Time to make our final predictions for tonight's game between Syracuse and Binghamton. And first, of course, we have to start with our Upstate Imports starting lineups. Brought to you, as always, by Upstate Imports. First for the visiting Binghamton Bearcats, starting at point guard number 0, Jeremiah Quigley. At shooting guard number 5, Wes Peterson. At forward, number 15, Bryson Wilson. At the 4, you'll have number 10, Zaire Beverly. That's the big man with guard-like ability that I was talking about. And then at the 5, probably their best player, the LaSalle transfer, number 14, Demetrius Lilly. And that's the big matchup I'm very curious to see, how Syracuse matches up in the paint with their 5, Demetrius Lilly, because I do think that's probably the weakest position on the floor for Syracuse in this game and across the 2025-2026 season. Starting lineups brought to you by Upstate Imports for the Syracuse Orange. Starting at guard, number 2, J.J. Starling. Nate Kings will start at guard. Nathan George as well. Donnie Freeman at the 4. And then William Kyle gets the start at the 5. That's the starting 5 for the Orange. One more time, Starling, Kings, George, Freeman, and Kyle. It's in a weird order. I would assume Nathan George is starting at point guard. And JJ will be the 2, and Kings will be the 3. I don't really know why it's ordered that way on the live stats, but I would assume George will be the 1, JJ the 2, Kings the 3, Donnie the 4, Kyle the 5. And that's what you're looking at for Syracuse here tonight. Binghamton, a team that, again, has finished top 5 in the American East in each of the last 3 seasons. Haven't made the NCAA tournament, though, since 2008, 2009. This is a team that Syracuse should, I say should, handle fairly easily tonight. Should be able to empty the bench. Should be able to let the reserves play some extra minutes. That's what should happen tonight. But it hasn't happened in the last couple of years, really the last 3-4 years, if you go back to pre-Autry era, but especially the last 2 years here in Central New York. But it should happen tonight, and that's what you're going to be looking for if you feel like you're making the proper strides towards being a team that gets back to the NCAA tournament, that gets back to where you've been for so long as a program and need to get back to really where you should be if you're Syracuse basketball. It starts tonight, season opener. So what would leave you feeling good about this game? Leave it in the chat if you're on YouTube or Twitch. I'll tell you what I feel like leaves me feeling good about this game if you're a Syracuse basketball fan. I think you got to win by 20 or more. I'd love to sit here and say like 30 or more or something crazy, but I think you got to win by 20 or more to really feel good about this thing. But I think it has to look a certain way, too. You got to dominate throughout. You got to get off to an early start. A hot start if you're Syracuse. Get up on them big. Like I just saw somebody in the chat say St. John's is up 19-5 on Quinnipiac 4 minutes in. You need a start like that. Hit the gas on go right from the get-go if you're Syracuse tonight to open the season. I think you got to score at least 80 points to feel good. Feel good about the offense. They've yet to do that this year in the exhibitions. They scored 76 in the first one against Buffalo. They scored 75 in the second one against Pace. I think you got to score 80 or more to feel good. If you score 90 or more, you're really looking at it like, okay, you're in a good spot offensively. You beat up on a poor team, but you're feeling okay. So I think that's the 2 biggest keys. Hit 80 points and score 20 or more. My final score prediction for this one, I think Syracuse wins it by doing both of those things. 84-62, my final score prediction for this one in the Dome between Syracuse and Binghamton. I think Syracuse wins by 22 points. You don't leave it feeling fantastic. You don't leave it feeling like, oh, they just beat them by 40 and scored 104 points. And how about this team? But you got to remember, too, this is a Binghamton team that's without 4 guys. They only have 10 rostered players, and 2 of the guys that are going to be unavailable, long-term injuries, were projected starters heading into the season. And their head coach said they would have been starters had they not gotten hurt. So this is already a depleted Binghamton team before the season even tips. You really should take care of business if you're Syracuse tonight. So 84-62, my final score prediction. for Syracuse and Binghamton on a Monday night. The Orange start 1-0. Come hang out with us again post-game. We'll be right here in this seat. You can listen to it on 97.7, 100.1 ESPN Syracuse. You can also join us online at QSportsTalk.com. That's on Twitch and YouTube. Come hang out with us after the game. I'll be right here in this seat, ready to take your calls and unpack it all. If you need to write it down, the number to call after the game, 315-437-7644. I'd encourage you to turn the dial. Go listen to our boy Tim Leonard. He's calling the game for Learfield tonight. You can find that on TK99. So turn the dial, listen to Tim on TK99, or watch the game on the ACC Network Extra, and then I'll talk to you post-game and unpack, hopefully, a Syracuse win and a 1-0 start to the season. Syracuse and Binghamton coming up in just about 4 minutes. Tim Leonard will have you covered on TK99. For now, though, I'm Giovanni Heater saying so long. I'll talk to you after the game. Enjoy it. Cuse and Binghamton in the Dome. Let's get a win.
Your local